Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo is facing calls from his own colleagues in his own party to resign after a third woman accused him of sexual harassment.
This is a work of art.
A photographer told the New York Times that the politician touched her face and asked to kiss her at a wedding. The 63-year-old denied touching anyone inappropriately, but apologized if his comments were misinterpreted. An investigation has begun after 2 former staff members also alleged harassment. Protests continue in Myanmar as foreign ministers of neighbouring countries prepare to hold talks with the junta in a bid to find a way out of the crisis. The coup halted Myanmar's tentative steps towards democracy after nearly 50 years of military rule and has drawn condemnation and sanctions from the United States and other Western countries and growing concern among its neighbours. The protests come after the bloodiest crackdown that killed 18 people on Sunday. Hundreds of people have been arrested, according to activists, among them 6 journalists. The French government says older people with pre-existing conditions can now get AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine, revising its original stance.
Santé considère désormais, depuis aujourd'hui,
the French health minister said that people can be vaccinated with AstraZeneca, including those aged between 65 and 74. Last month, France approved use of the vaccine for under 65s only, citing lack of data for older people, but since then studies have shown the jab is highly effective among the elderly. An American father and son have been handed over to Japanese authorities for allegedly helping former Nissan boss Carlos Ghosn flee the country. Michael Taylor and his son Peter were charged last year with helping Mr. Ghosn flee Japan, hidden in a box and on a private jet. Mr. Ghosn escaped to his childhood home, Lebanon, which has no extradition treaty with Japan. Michael Taylor and his son Peter have fought a months-long battle to avoid extradition over the case. Prosecutors said the pair received $1.3 million to help Mr. Ghosn escape Japan in 2019. Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo estimate that 92,000 refugees have arrived from the Central African Republic after election-linked violence erupted 2 months ago. Many of the refugees are sleeping in makeshift shelters in the open with little or no access to drinking water, sanitation and food. The UN Refugees Office is making progress with the registration of refugees to establish the exact number of new arrivals. Close to 40,000 refugees have been registered so far. The new Vice President of Tanzania's semi-autonomous islands of Zanzibar has been sworn in less than 2 weeks after his predecessor died. Othman Masoud Othman Sharif replaces Saif Sharif Hamad, who died last month, aged 77. No official reason has been given for his death, but it came nearly 3 weeks after his party said he had contracted COVID-19. Amnesty International has published a report accusing Mozambique's army, private military contractors and militants operating in the northern Cabo Delgado province of committing war crimes. The watchdog urged all parties to immediately stop targeting civilians and called on the government to investigate abuses. Last year, several videos emerged showing alleged soldiers carrying out abuses against suspected militants and residents. Mozambique has been battling an insurgency since October 2017, in which more than 2,300 people have been killed and over 600,000 others forced from their homes. Indonesia's Mount Sinabung has spewed hot ash to as high as 3 kilometres, its latest major eruption since August last year. No casualties have been reported, as officials urged the local people to refrain from doing any activities from at least 3 kilometres radius from the crater. Alerts for the volcano in northern Sumatra province has been placed at the 2nd highest level. And finally, a painting by the former British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill, which was owned by Angelina Jolie, has been sold for £7 million at auction in London.
A very distinguished holidaymaker is Mr. Winston Churchill, complete with sun hat on the shores of Lake Garda.
The sale price was almost 4 times the top pre-sale estimate and beat the previous record for a Churchill painting, which was just under £1.8 million. The tower of the Kutubia Mosque, painted in Marrakesh during World War II, was sold to an anonymous buyer. Christie's auction house defined it as Churchill's most important work. Churchill took inspiration from the Moroccan city for the painting, realising the oil work followed the Casablanca Conference in 1943. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.